Good evening, everyone. Good evening to those who are watching us over the internet. And tonight, not a lot to say because we're going to talk about one very important theme, subject around our doctrine, our Spiritist doctrine, which is Attunement, which basically everything is around it. And we have Gilberto here with us to talk to us about it. Gilberto, welcome.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Yes, we're going to be talking about attunement, sintonia in Portuguese, which is somehow connected with discussions we have had here about communication, the language of love. And so this is kind of a continuation of that. It's another aspect. But it's so important that we decided to bring it on a separate day, in this case night, so we can have more time to understand it. So what is attunement? Let's start with a little joke here. So, the doctor or whomever says, yes, I think I have good, the guy, okay. Okay. So yes, I think I have good people skills. People with skills. What kind of an idiot question is that? So imagine that situation. So it's almost like us, spiritists saying, "Oh, I'm really humble." Right? Can't you see that I'm really humble? Right? So then it kind of destroyed the whole concept of being humble, humbleness, humility. All right. So that's to get us in tune here, actually. So what is the definition of attunement? We went first to at this dictionary, Cambridge Academic Content Dictionary, and what we find there is to be in tune with someone or something. The word attunement, of course, has in its roots this noun in tune. So, here in the United States, we may say it in several different ways, like we are in the same wavelength, or we're looking eye to eye. All those things are really, telling us we are in tune with a subject, or someone, or something. And then the second part of this, in this the dictionary, says it's having a good understanding of someone or something. And here comes the example. He is more in tune with his players today because he has asked them for their opinions. So in this little example, you can see, the coach apparently, got a lot better in tune, in sync is another way we say here in the States, with his team because he decided to find out what they were thinking about, and then all of a sudden, they were in the same wavelength, in the same level of understanding. But let's now take a look at the same thing from in psychology terms, because this is really what we're gonna see here is more of the aspect that we want to discuss tonight. It says attunement describes how reactive a person is to another's emotional needs and moods. So now here we are talking about emotional needs and moods, and this is really what we are concerned about here, to be in tune with someone in relation to the emotional side of that someone, what's happening right now. So you see some of the emotions to the side just to get it started. So we have officially over 100 different type of emotions. We some we don't never heard about, but the experts have already gone all the way to count them, and we do have over 100. So we know a dozen maybe, and the ones that we don't know, we just make it fall in one of those that we do know. But we are emotional beings. We have a tons of emotions. Am I doing some noise here? We are emotional beings. So we may be one in the morning, we may be very happy. In the afternoon, we may be upside down. and very nervous or surprised, full of fear, whatever the situation is. But actually, during the day, if you were to count how many times we switch between one emotional to the other, it all depends on what's happening at that particular point in time. So we're getting a call from the wife, immediately you get what? Nervous, right? No, you get joy, right? Okay. But the thing is that every minute we may change the way we feel, and we may change emotions from one way to the other. So we are emotional beings, and then if we are communicating with one another, if we are trying to establish a connection, if we're trying to live with each other, then if we are not able to understand emotions, then we're going to miss the boat, because you're not going to be in a position to establish the most optimum relationship if you don't master and if you don't understand emotion. Now, we don't do that in a way that's very conscious. It comes to a point we do that kind of unconsciously, but we do it. And once we learn how to deal with emotions, we do it. Or don't, and that's why we are here. So is it important? Is attunement important or not? That's why we are here, because it is. It is important. So, the second bullet under the psychology terms here, the definition under psychology terms, it says a person who is well attuned will respond with appropriate language and behaviors based on another person's emotional state. I'm going to read the next one so we can talk about both at the same time. They are good at recognizing moods and emotions in another person and adapting their own responses in accordance. So, bullet 2 and 3, I guess it says, so if your wife is mad at you, get mad at her, right? No, we would not need to be here to learn that. We are here to understand how to master emotions and how to deal with emotions, how you help other person's emotions. If we love someone, how we help that person to get, and back to balance when the person is nervous or is going through some sort of situation. And that's where it gets important, where it gets very interesting for us here, because understanding whatever we can understand about attunement will lead us to be more responsible for the other. If we love someone and we have compassion, so we don't want that person to suffer. But at the same time, you have no emotions. All you want to do, or you know how to do, being taught how to do, is the very old thing on teeth for a teeth, right? Eye for an eye, and then all you get is more conflict. All you get is more issues without resolution. All you get is more nervousness and madness and bad relationship, and definitely no resolution of the conflict. At the minute we are better off, we're much better at understanding emotion, and because you can read about emotion and understand emotion, but really you need also to know how to manage emotions. So we have a lot of people that say, well, no, but I have a very short fuse. Okay, so does he understand emotions? Can he manage emotions? No, he has very short fuse. So 30 seconds or less, he lost his temper, and there goes the communication. The whole thing that needed resolution goes to hell, because that person could not manage that particular emotion at that particular time, and then say, oh, I'm sorry, but I have, this short fuse. Well, yeah, we are very sorry for you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. In more practical terms, then, this thing about attunement. Attunement is the abstract basis for being there, right? For your partners, whenever he or she is feeling or has a need. So it's very common in American language, not so much in Portuguese translated into English, but it's very common here in the States to hear, oh, the guy has my back, or whatever happens, I'm always there for him. I have always been there for her. She does not understand. Well, being there here is this, right? At the moment of need, I'm emotionally available. What is it being emotional available to someone when that someone needs you? Because that someone is going through a situation like having a lot of fear, or is too anxious because of an operation that's coming up, or whatever the situation is. Being there means I'm with you. I am going to be here with you. We're going to be talking about it. You can count on me. It is about listening non-defensively and empathetically in order to better understand the partner's emotion. So listening non-defensively. It is part of our present situation because we're not perfect. It's part of our habit or the way we normally still react like that. Whenever we see a person that is whose emotion is a little bit out of balance, so we kind of we either fly away from that person, or if you have to really get into a discussion with that person, you are going to be unstable emotional as well if you don't know how to manage your particular situation, if you don't know how to manage your emotions. And then what is going to happen is you're not going to be able to listen carefully to understand the other person's problem. What is the source of that problem? Remember, behind every message coming from your partner, okay, or your kids, or your parents, depending on the case here, behind everything they say, there's an emotion, there's a message behind that. There's a need behind that, even if that's just the need of, participating of something. But even that, the person is interested in that, that you understand. But in many situations that are not as easy as, responding to what time it is, you're going to have this thing of being prepared to defend yourself as opposed to understand what the other person is trying to say. And we like to emphasize when we work with people that they be prepared to listen to the words, but that is priority number 2. Everybody needs to listen to the emotions that come in, with the energy, sometimes you may say, because there is a message behind the message, and you are really trying to understand the message behind the message. When you do that, you're going to respond to the core of the concern, to the core of the problem, as opposed to reacting to words. And words, we make a lot of mistakes choosing words. We make a lot of confusion. We may create situations that's because was not the right word. So, attunement will, when you really train it, okay, you're going to listen non-defensively and empathetically. So right now, I don't know what you're going to tell me, but whatever you tell me, I'm interested. And if you have a problem, I may help you with that. So that's listening empathetically and non-defensively. Listen to the message behind the message. Understand the emotions involved in that message. So why attunement is important? Okay, so why do I have to know about attunement? My life is good right now. And without knowing anything about attunement, well, maybe it is, but in which case it can get better, and maybe it is not, because you never stop it to think about this little word called attunement. And let's see some of the questions. You'll say, we're going to answer this question by asking more questions, and let's see where we get to. For example, you may turn to yourself and say, do you want to be seen as a true partner? Okay? So you're probably going to say, oh, yes, I want my wife and my husband to see me as a true partner. That thing we're talking at the beginning, right? So I'm there for you. I'm in sync. You have my back, as they say here. So, yeah, I really want to have this a very truthful and very solid partnership in good times and in bad times. Good times is much easier, isn't it? But then comes the bad times, and if you do not train yourself during the good times, it comes the bad times, you're not going to be able to handle that. Do you want your partner to feel he or she can count on you? Well, that's another very interesting question. In times of desperation, in times of difficulties, in times of big challenges, you really want to know that if anything happens, your wife or whoever the other person is going to be there for you, is going to be with you, is going to support you, even if the outcome was not the expected one. And then, but your partner is going to be there for you. Do you want to be fair, compassionate, and helpful? So how are you going to be compassionate? How are you going to be helpful if you cannot control your emotions, number one, and if you cannot understand the other person's emotion, right? So we do have that situation where people say, oh, no, okay. I see that you are totally out of control. You go get your act together, and then we'll talk. I don't know if you have ever seen that, but I have seen that. So, you need therapy. I don't. Go and fix yourself, and then come back. So the word is full of that, because we're never wrong. It's the other person. I don't know if you noticed that. So, if you want to be compassionate, helpful, fair, then you need to be prepared to understand emotions coming from, coming toward you, coming from the other person into you. Do you want your relationship to grow steadily and healthy? Yeah, I guess everybody would say, oh yes, I do. But how that's going to happen if you kind of, if you, all I see is you guys fighting every day. You can't resolve conflicts. You don't seem to understand each other. You don't seem to have patience at all. So you don't seem to be good enough to stop, listen, and ask questions for clarification as opposed to fight back, get into that defensive reaction, right? Do you want peace of mind? Oh, yeah. So I guess, if we have peace of mind, wow, that's something that really, that's very, very cool, right? So you feel satisfied, everybody feels satisfied. You don't have any sense of guilt. You feel that you have met the other's expectation, so that other person is happy with you. So would the other person be happy with you if you don't ever listen? If you're not emotionally available to that person when that person needs you the most, right? So you're not going to have peace of mind. Maybe you are going to have, for sometimes, one day, circumstances catch up with reality. And then there you go, like in that song, crash, boom, bang, too late. Do you want to be seen as a true Christian? So that I left that for the end, because it's all related to, at the end of the day, your spiritual development or the efforts you are making to accomplish spiritual development. All right. So let's look at attunement from where it's needed, where it affects, and what the different type of channels we have to learn and express attunement. So we're talking about attunement with other people, like husband, wife, and kids. We're talking about attunement with the spiritual world. So we are here at Spiritist Center. We know that there's a lot of a lot of spirits here, and when we are out there, if for those that know this question from the Spirit's book, when it says Kardec, asks, if we are not monitored, but if we are influenced by the spiritual world, and the answer from the spirits is much more than you think. So there's not such a thing as say, oh, this is for the non-spiritist or whatever. I don't have any influence. No way. So we are highly influenced by the spiritist world. So then we might as well choose kind of a spirit you want to have the influence from. Good spirits would be better, right? Okay. As far as this, well, of course, with Jesus, we're going to talk about it, and the self. It's not that we need to attune with ourselves the way we attune with the outside, but here the point is we need to learn how to master emotions. We need to understand that attunement is important. We need to understand that relationship is based, amongst other things, on good communication, proper communication, fair communication. We need to understand that our partners are, just like us, emotional beings. And just like us, 24 hours every day, he's going to be going through a ton of different emotions depending on what's going on. So, in the first one, when we're talking about in relation to other people, we have to look into relationship quality. Has a lot to do with attunement, as we've been talking about so far. Loving kindness, your ability to treat other people properly with kindness, with love. Accomplishment. So in our relationships, we must have, and we might have, and I'm sure we have, goals. It's not a business, but we have goals that we want to accomplish with someone, or within the family, right? And of course, if we say, wow, but I don't have none of those, but yeah, we have a relationship with someone, even if that's our boss, and we still need goals. How you want your relationship to be? And then we're gonna, if you don't accomplish those objectives, that means we are failing as far as our goals and as far as our ability to maintain a relationship that is profitable, that is good. In the spiritual world, as we discussed it, so where do you want your support to come from? Nobody can say, oh, give me all the worst spirits, I want them to follow me. No, because we want all the Emmanuels of this life, André Luiz's, right? Joana de Angelis, and the Bezerra de Menezes. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, if not possible, we want spirits that are much better than I am. Just like our guardian spirit. If you read the Kardec books, you're going to find that our guardian spirit is from a planet above ours. So he's a lot better than us. He's not a guy that's was interested in us around Earth that said, oh, I'll take care of Gilberto or whomever. No, it's a spirit from a world above Earth. In other words, not from a world of trial and expiations. So, we want Jesus in the sense of, if I want to kind of determine the level of reference, okay, that I'm going to have for my day-to-day dealings, for what I do, day in, day out, I want my reference, my point of reference to be the gospel, the Jesus, or something that definitely is a higher level, because I'm looking to getting there. I'm not looking to, because this is one of the problems, for most, not in this room, but outside there, for most, our guides come from what? From our reference group, the people we work from. And we need their approval for everything. So we don't have a higher level guide, but we should. Not in this room, in the world. And that's why we are the way we are. All right. Starting now with the self, one of the circles there, right? Remember the 4 circles? First thing that I want you to notice, this author here, he created an acronym. You're going to read from top down here to your left, the word attune. And then he went on and described it. It's a letter. A stands for awareness of the emotion. We need to understand, what is this emotion I'm going through right now? As simple as it may seem, it's very common for you to come to a person that don't look good and say, you have a problem? What is it that you're going through? And the person says, oh, I don't know. I just know that I don't know. I'm not okay. So person will not come to you, to himself and say, I guess I'm having a crisis of anxiety. Right? We need to understand what is this emotion, and that's for our own good. Turning toward the emotions. Turning toward is a term that is used in the sense of you don't turn your back to a problem, in this case an emotion. So, I have this, but I don't want to have time for that right now. I don't want to deal with that. So you kind of repress your emotions. You turn your back to it. You don't attend it. You don't listen to it. Turning toward is really facing it, looking at it, working with it. Tolerance of the emotional experience, understanding of the emotion. We discussed non-defensive listening to the emotion. And that's a very important thing, because if you catch yourself in a situation where you are emotionally unstable, and you're gonna, like in A, you're gonna say, well, which emotion is this? What am I feeling here? Is this a sense of guilt? Is this anxiety? Is this what? Right? Depression? Well, you need to talk to that emotion. The minute you name it, you tame it. This is a jargon in psychology. You name it, you tame it. The minute you say, oh, what I do have is anxiety, so you already start to work on that, just intuitively. That's how it works. Empathy toward the emotion. So we have to welcome the emotion in the sense, all right, I understand you are here for a reason. And let's work, let's talk. All right, so let's go a little bit further on this. Starting with the title, starting with the self, we have to have goals, as we said. And the goals, in general, if we're working on ourselves, must be, number one, analyze our attunement level, if we want to improve our attunement. So what is my attunement level? So you might ask yourself right now, what is my attunement level? Do I look eye to the person? Not to, put your fingers in the other person's eye, but trying to understand what you're feeling. Showing you that I'm interested in what you're telling me. Showing me that if I understand you, I should be able to help. You can count on me. You're not going to be in a situation where the person comes to you and say, I need to talk to you because I feel very unstable right now. And then you are, of course, reading your email. So, oh, yeah, go ahead, I'm listening. So, is that is that being attuned to the person? No. Does the person feel like she's being helped by you, get your attention? No. Right? Okay, the other thing that is what we'll be looking for here, when you do all this analysis and you are interested as a good spiritist to transform yourself, part of our inner transformation, is then move from emotional dismissing, so you don't want to handle emotions, or disappointment, to attunement. So that's the goal. I'm going to move from I don't care to I do care. I don't want to understand my emotions, I don't want to handle that. I'm a short fuse guy and that's the way I am, to wanting the opposite of that. So awareness of the emotion then means you want to turn a situation that is kind of a hot into an opportunity for intimacy, for closeness, for conflict resolution, for bring in peace, as opposed to what? If you are impatient, annoyed, you're not going to accomplish that. So awareness of the emotions also implies in being patient. If you are attuned, your objective is to transform that situation, in addition to helping the people, the person involved in that, into a situation where you're going to get the hug at the end. How is that? Good, right? Okay. Turning toward, so talk about the partner's feelings in terms of his or her needs. Don't begin with blaming and criticism. So the person comes to you, and you can tell by her or his face that he or she is not very well. She's about to throw you a bomb or something. And then, of course, our normal reaction is not going to be this and say, wow, it's a great opportunity for me to understand your needs so that I can help you. You're going to see all those situations as a problem, as opposed to an opportunity. But we create opportunities out of trouble in a relationship by transforming situation into an opportunity for intimacy. Tolerance. Have to understand also there's always two different sides, but valid perception of an event. So here's what my wife understands about this, here's what I understand about it. And that's not a problem. Because for most of us, how come she does not understand? She can't see it? I don't believe it. She should be able to see it. So you go into a conversation where there is attunement. You already go in there prepared to eventually find out she's got a different view. And then you again, through a very deep, heartfelt discussion, you're going to find out why is that difference. And the way to find out why that difference is there is just yourself to move into the shoes of the other person and say, oh, looking from this side, you're right, yeah. Now, from my side is different because I can see this and this and this and this. But from your side, you're absolutely right. Now let's work on the gap. Understanding the emotion. So postpone your own agenda, because this is the thing. We have our agenda. So normally, people with a problem come to us in the right time or in the wrong time. Always in the wrong time, right? So there's never a right time for you. So have to be in a position to, if you want to be emotionally available, not that guy that's, oh yeah, go ahead, I'm looking here, but yeah, I'm listening to you. So instead of that, you would say, oh, yeah, this is a good time. Let me understand that. Make the time. Make yourself emotionally available. Don't put your agenda ahead of somebody in trouble. Non-defensive, we discussed that. Most difficult skill, not to be defensive. Because, of course, if there's something that's really against you, and you're going to be always in a defense mode. What if we, as we say here, down-regulate our emotions? As you said before in the previous point, and postpone your agenda for 10 minutes. And listen to the other partner's negative emotions with the idea of understanding. Empathy, listen with compassion. Try to see the issue through the partner's eyes, as we discussed it before. But using compassion is absolutely necessary in any productive discussion of any issue of relevance. Because otherwise, particularly if you are one of those that knows it all, then you're done. So there's no communication. Okay. trying to respect the time here. Now moving on to the second, circle there, which is the spiritual world. There's this old adage: you get what you ask for. Some of you may have heard that, but that's it's even truer. It's more true in the spiritual side of life, right? Because we know through the stuff that we read in the Spiritist Center, through the studies that we bring over here, we know about the law of cause and effect. We know about the action and reaction. And we know that everything we do, if that's good, it's going to come back to us as a good thing, and if that's bad, it's going to come back to you for you recapitulate in a different situation. That moment that you didn't do well, didn't master, didn't handle well, for you for this time to handle properly. It comes back to us. It's written in the books we read here, right? Your faith and knowledge will drive your thoughts and help develop attunement skills. Your faith and knowledge will drive your thoughts. It's a mind-sight issue here. So it's not that you're going to switch something and say, oh, then from now on I'm going to use this button here called Attunement. I did not even know what that was for, so from now on I'm going to switch it on. No. As all the virtues of this life, we need to develop them, work on them, understand them. And we do that through knowledge, studying, listening, practicing. But we have to have faith. So if you don't believe that that particular virtue is of any value, so you're not going to learn it. You just don't, want, because this is how we operate. It's like a book that you read, not, a book that's good for one person, the other, so good that he recommends for somebody in the family, and somebody in the family says, oh no, I didn't like that book. Because I was not talking to her, and of that, the emotions that first person was going through. So even a book, there's no such a thing as the best book for you is this, because it must be a book that the person needs at that particular moment that's going to talk to him, talk back to him. Right? Your behaviors will keep in tune, not words or acknowledgement. So, attunement is something to feel, right? Something that you look in the eyes of a person and the person feels it. And he can have that warm feeling that you were there for her or for him. Your facial, expression will tell everything, if you were there or not. So attunement is something you feel. That's why it is a virtue that you need to develop, and it's going to come naturally. But you are allowed to fake it until it, right? But that's part of the training. That's good. Like that. Your efforts will always rescue or protect you. If we're putting all your best efforts to listen with compassion, attentively, with good care, with a good heart, to somebody, and even if you're failing, that's going to work. People can sense you're making an effort. Right? So remember Kardec, he said, you recognize a true spiritist, not spiritist, but a true spiritist by its moral transformation and by its efforts to tame its bad inclinations. Because we are all spirits in development. We are on the works still. And it's our responsibility to make sure, we every day something improves in our spirit. So one day we're going to be done. Then moving to Jesus, do you have Jesus as your highest moral standard? Right? So as opposed to whatever works for the Americans should work for me. Is that a good standard? Probably not, right? And then you have to look for something bigger and better to be your parameter to be the light that you want to follow, get to. And that's, I put Jesus here. There's his gospel. There's a lot of work that came through the Spirit of Truth, a bunch of other information that can be our guideline. But really, if you don't know which one to pick the gospel according to the Spirit. That's a great, if not the best, ethical guide, moral guide for us. What are some of the things he said? He said, that's Jesus. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, and then do to others what you want them to do for you or to you. So then that's, your parameter, that's your guideline. Know the truth, and the truth will save you. Everybody knows this here. We don't have to talk about that a lot. Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. So forgiveness, indulgence. So, and knock and the door will open. All right, love your enemies. So there's a lot. So that would be impossible to bring over some of the very basic, even some of the very basic guidelines that we have available for us anytime we want, and that would help us to establish this very high standard for what we're looking for, as for our development in this world, and to help us to be attuned. And being attuned would meet this thing here, love. From love your enemies to love one another, right? To doing to others what you want them to do for you or to you. All right, well, we have talked about we are emotional beings. Anybody has any doubt about that? So if there's anybody here that doesn't have any emotion, talk to me after. Okay. We are bound to experience emotions all day long, all the time. There's no way you can hide from it. Right? It is essential that we learn how to deal with emotions. So don't say, just the way I am, I'm short fuse. No. Is that the right way to be? The person will say, well, this is the way I am. Well, find out if that's what you want to be. Is that what brings to you the most of what you want. Being an emotional dismissing person, distance ourselves from others and create isolation. So if you're kind of a guy it's a wonderful guy, right? From the first week, very kind and this and that and that and that. And the second week, everything is clear. So you have short fuse, you don't listen, you don't respond to me when I need, you're never there for me. There you go. It defeats the sense of friendship or supportive partner, the lack of, right, attunement. And it determines the dynamics of the couples, of couples and families. So the dynamic that you see in your house, in your home, is the fruit of what? Who you are. Now, if you're great at listening to each other, that relationship has a much better chance of not only surviving, but going all the way to where it should go. And it is the contrary of what we learned from Jesus. So lack of attunement is not what we learned from Jesus. All right, so I hope I have convinced you that attunement is something that we need to look into, be aware of, be curious about, find out more about it, and practice. Okay? So with that, have a nice weekend. Thank you. Thank you.